Hi, welcome to part one of our calendar math today. We're not going to use anything from our daily ticker. We kind of used that up of what percent of the school year we have left to what percent of the days do we have left. So I thought I would mix it up a little bit. We've been reading the book, The Wild Robot, and we know that there are 80 chapters in total. Now, knowing right when I said in total, you know that the whole book has been cut up into 80 chapters. So that would be our denominator of 80. We also know that we are on chapter 72. I'm going to write this in a darker marker. So we know we have 72 chapters out of 80. So what we could do is we could ask two types of questions, using percents, that is. Knowing that our fraction of 72 chapters that we've read out of 80, we could ask what percent of the book have we read? We could ask what percent we need to read. And there's a couple different ways that you could solve this. If we wanted to know what percent we could read, you know that you divide the bottom into the top using this fraction. We've gone over this a lot of times, that a fraction bar is the same thing as a division. So we would do 72 divided by 80. And whatever the number, then we would cut 72 up into 100 pieces, and then we would divide, and then this would be a decimal version that we would then convert to a percent, right? You know that. But if I were to ask, what percent do we need to read? The key is need to read. You could do what we did just here, come up with the percent of what we read, and then subtract by 100. But I will also want to show you another way that we could do that. I know since we have read 72 out of 80, how many pages or how many chapters do I still need to read? Well, I could, instead of doing it the other way, I could subtract 72 from 80 and I come up with 8, because 72 plus 8 is 80. And now instead of having the numerator be the number of chapters that I've read, by subtracting the number read from the total number, I now have the number that I still need to read. And now I can continue to find out a percent because I know this is how many we need to read. And this is how many the whole book has been cut up into. So it makes it easier because look, I know that I have a common factor of 8, don't I? Because I know 8 divided by 8 is 1. And 80 divided by 8 is 10. And now instead of dividing by the, I know that a percent means out of 100. So instead of dividing both the numerator and the denominator by a number, I can multiply. So if I multiply the numerator times 10 and the denominator by 10, I get an equivalent fraction of 10 100ths. And once I got 100ths, I know I'm dealing with my percent. And so I could, another way of writing hundredths is percent, which means I could now answer the problem and say, we have 10% of our book left. Isn't that a neat way of doing it? Just a different way, so you see a different way of doing things. Now, I could have totally, in the beginning, I totally could have divided 80, oh, this was 72, 80 into 72.00, and I would have come up with 90. And then I would have known we've read 90%, but then I would have had to subtract 90 from 100 to get 10%. So it's just a different way of doing it. I think this way is a little bit easier because it makes the number a little bit smaller, the numerator smaller for me, but that's just my way of doing it. All right?